Chapter 1 Not So Humble Beginnings. Hello, my name is Vinny Dragon, and welcome to the story of my first season of MMC. This was the first Pokemon Draft League that I ever took to a serious, more competitive level, and I wanted to tell you the story. Now, this actually happened a few months ago, so this is going to be a sort of retrospective. If you want more weekly updates on the series and specific battles about every single game, make sure to check out Steve SBU's channel. It'll be linked in the description. He's a good friend of mine, and he made weekly videos on the draft when it happened. One specific video that he made was the power rankings of every single team in the MMC draft. Now, as someone who's very humble, reasonable, a more calm and reserved kind of man, I expected to be, first or second, as you usually do. However, a lot of people underestimated me going into this draft. As such, I was ranked 12th. 12th! Out of the around 18 teams, I was ranked the 12th strongest. And that sort of struck a nerve with me, personally. As someone who sees themselves as, the best ever, just to play draft ever, because, I'm so good at Pokemon, this was quite the shock. However, all it really did was sort of motivate me to prove other people wrong, and also serve as a bragging point to the people who, were ranked beneath me, because, imagine being those scrubs. But overall, it sort of helped establish a starting point for me. This was where I was, and I needed to exceed expectations. How was I going to do that? By building the most hyper-offensive, disgusting, awful team alive. I'm not going to go crazy in depth on this team, as you can watch the power rankings video to sort of help identify the team. Also, I'll be discussing each Pokemon when it's more relevant in its specific matchups. But to sort of sum over the team, I have a Little Cup defensive core with, Knacklestack, Murkrow, and Toadschool and Frillish. All very solid low-tier Pokemon who provide defensive value. I have Registeel, Kommo-o, and Zapdos, who are all sort of mid-tier Pokemon who all provide their own various niches, Registeel being more defensive, Kommo-o acting as also kind of defensive but also offensive, as long as Zapdos, who can be very mixed depending on the matchup. I have Sticky Web support in the form of Ariados, and then I have my goats. Iron Bundle, Mega Mawile, and Ogerpon Heartflame are three very offensive Pokemon that all hit very different things for super effective damage, as well as just overall having a variety of different things that they can hit pressure. Overall, this triple offensive core of these three Pokemon is what carried the backbone of this team, and honestly even helped me build an attachment to some of them. Genuinely, I would not be where I was if it wasn't for me coming up with the idea to draft these three. Overall, I'm just super proud of this team. It definitely does have its flaws, however, it's absolutely amazing. And tell me a team that just walls those three. Come on, I'll wait. My immediate first battle is against Willow Rush, and off-rip we have a very interesting lead to start. So I managed to bring Iron Bundle, Mega Mawile, and Ogerpon Heartflame into this matchup, like I will every matchup, spoiler alert. But then I also brought Murkrow, Zapdos, and of course, Registeel. Now, going up against this Garchomp Diancie team, it was a little bit scary. He also has Exploud in the back, as well as Emolga, but then Incineroar and Dusclops for some bulk. Now, let's analyze the battle, shall we? To start off with, Garchomp sets up a substitute, and I miss a Toxic. Already we're in a pretty bad spot, but then Murkrow switches out to the Scale Shot miss. Absolutely crucial. I just could have lost if he started setting up. Overall, sub Garchomp is not something that I expected, and definitely something that was a huge learning experience for me moving forward. Because sweeping potentials behind substitutes are my nightmare. I'm able to switch in Mawile, which is immune to the Scale Shot, and then I'm able to Mega Evolve and click Sucker Punch, which destroys the substitute. However, I do die to the incoming Earthquake. Sacking Mawile to prevent the Garchomp switch was pretty much essential, but I'm gonna miss Mawile for the rest of this game, trust me. Next up, in comes Iron Bundle to force Garchomp to switch out, because even with Yachi Berry, a Choice Specs bundle still kills, which means that he goes into the Dusclops and reveals that I am Choice Scarf with his Frisk ability. Ice Beam does 32, which means I know this thing is Eviolite, and ooh boy, does this thing love tanking those Ice Beams. We see the switch to Murkrow as he goes for Pain Split here to recover a little bit of HP. and then the switch to Incineroar. Now, this is already not great for me, as dark types are immune to Prankster, but also I'm down Mega Mawile, and he's definitely beating me in terms of the HP gain. I switch to Zapdos here, as Incineroar also goes for Substitute, which means that I can't Toxic on Zapdos. Volt Switch also doesn't break the Substitute, so we're in a really bad position. Incineroar goes for Bulk Up, and we see that this is a Substitute Bulk Up set. I switch back to Zapdos as he goes for a Fire Punch, and I get the Static proc. I'm just the luckiest boy this game, don't worry about it. I click Roost here in order to recover some HP as he goes for another Fire Punch, which doesn't do all that much damage, and he gets more Leftovers recovery. I click Volt Switch to break the Substitute, and we go into Murkrow here as he gets fully paralyzed. Now, unfortunately, because of the paralysis, I cannot Toxic him with this Murkrow, so that's really unfortunate. However, I wouldn't be able to Toxic him anyway because he's a Dark type, which is immune to Prankster. I'd have to go into Zapdos first, and he knows this. So he clicks Haze as he goes for another Substitute, because if Substitute isn't up when Zapdos is in, then I'm going to be able to get some chip damage up on him. But Murkrow doesn't have any attacking moves, so he's just going to be able to set up for free in front of Murkrow. Now, I believe this... I'm going to skip ahead because I'm pretty sure this game happens for a long time. We are back, around 50 turns later, so I kind of forgot how long we kind of played the Zapdos and Murkrow versus Incineroar stalling game, but yeah, he finally switches in Emolga here on the read of a Zapdos Volt Switch and gets the Motor Drive boost. I switch to Registeel on the incoming taunt, which isn't a big problem for Registeel. And then after a Volt Switch, we go into Exploud, and then I click Ice Spinner to do around 28%. Work up here into the Body Press is just a kill, which this crit did not matter. Looking at the damage calculator, we know that this crit didn't matter. And even if you clicked Aura Sphere or Focus Blast here, Registeel was fine. Next up we get the taunt, however, I just click Heavy Slam, which is the read on the switch there. He clicks Thunderbolt, and then I just click Ice Spinner to do 48%, and we just beat this Emolga down, and now we're back in the lead. However, Garchomp comes in, and the lead is immediately floundered, because, oh boy, does this Garchomp love eating up this Registeel. I switch into Murkrow here on the Earthquake. Thank God he didn't go for Substitute here, because if Garchomp went for Substitute, honestly, that could have been the game. We see the switch into Incineroar here as we predict the Toxic, and here we go! Just kidding, actually. Garchomp switches into Volt Switch here, which means we don't get the stalling game for a little while. I switch into Registeel on the Garchomp Substitute because I just kind of knew it was happening. Now I am actually able to eat one Earthquake and click Ice Spinner here. However, I don't eat the second Earthquake, and unfortunately I lose Registeel to Garchomp. However, Iron Bundle is thankfully fast enough to come in, and since he knows I'm Choice Scarfed, there's no way he's not seeing the Ice Beam here. And he switches into Dusclops to tank it. No freeze, unfortunately, but I switch to Ogerpon Hearthflame and get Pain Split, which actually heals me a little bit. I actually lost some Ogerpon HP during the exchange between the Incineroar and the Zapdos and Moltres, or the Zapdos and Murkrow that I skipped. But yes, I was injured on this Ogerpon, so I actually gained HP. Next up, I click Knockoff, which almost kills. However, it does get rid of the Eviolite, which means even if he heals back up, Iron Bundle would be able to kill, but thankfully, Ogerpon is fast enough to where the Horn Leech just kills. Incineroar comes in, and after the Intimidate, I need to switch out to preserve Ogerpon, and thankfully, he's paralyzed, which means he doesn't get a Substitute off in the wake of Zapdos. The switch into Garchomp is unfortunate, however, I read it, and I went for a Toxic this time. With Garchomp Toxic, this is absolutely huge for me, because it means I can switch into Murkrow, and he can't Substitute Sweep me. Now, Scale Shot is going to be massive damage here, and make him faster. However, Choice Scarf Bundle is still faster than a Scale Shot boosted Garchomp, so he sees that and switches out to Diancie as I get a Roost off. Now, unfortunately, Mega Diancie is going to absolutely cook me. I go for a Haze here. I'm not entirely sure what that was about in retrospect. Count that on the Vinny misplay counter. As they go for a Substitute, I switch into Zapdos here. They die to Power Gem. And then I believe I switched into Ogerpon here, yes, as we hit turn 100. And Horn Leech breaks the substitute, and I get some HP back, but Rock Polish is going to make it so that they're faster than my Iron Bundle and my Ogerpon Hearthflame. And unfortunately, my first battle of MMC... Well, actually, no, hold on. No, never mind, substitute. My first battle of MMC is a tremendous loss. Congratulations to Willow Rush. Next up is my battle against IHLP. Now, all kudos to IHLP. They're great. However, before this battle started, I had some choice words for his team. Maybe calling it, you know, bad or, you know, not very good. But, you know, that's all in the past, right? Like, I'm sure that he, you know, didn't really care that I said his team was far worse than mine. And, you know, this battle went very smoothly for me. So anyway, we see the Tornadus versus Como-O lead. And after he gets a Toxic off on Como-O, I'm able to do Ice Punch, which does half health to his Tornadus Therian. Already a decent start. I'd be willing to sacrifice this Toxic for a chip on Tornadus Therian, which is one of his Regenerator Pokemon. And the Freeze. So I'm kind of lucky. You know, just a casual Vinny luck moment. I'm already doing a Vinny misplay counter, but maybe I'll do a Vinny luck counter sometime in the future. But anyway, I switch to Zapdos here as he gets a Freeze turn. And then he switches out to avoid dying to Volt Switch, which I don't click because I click Thunderbolt, actually, because this Zapdos is more offensive this week, I believe. But anyway, I click U-turn here into Tinglu, and I'm able to switch to Toadschool as he sets up a layer of spikes. Now he switches to Ogerpon Wellspring in order to avoid the Spore, and I click Knockoff. I switch to Zapdos here, hoping to proc a Static, as he goes for, you guessed it, Substitute. Man, I hate this move. Anyway, the Ivy Cudgel does ridiculous damage as I break the substitute, and I reveal that this is fast Ogerpon. I just lose Zapdos here because I'm willing to send in my Boots Iron Bundle. After Freeze Dry, this shreds Ogerpon Wellspring. It's not even close. So he sends in his AV Swalot here to take this Freeze Dry, which... What the fuck, man? Anyway, flip turn, I am able to get damage done as I switch to Como-O in front of the Swalot. Earthquake does some damage, but thankfully Como-O's a massive tank, so I eat this. Aegislash switches into the Earthquake, and it does big damage here. Now, I'm taking massive toxic damage on this Como-O, it's just continuing to get whittled down. So I decide to switch into Mawile here and get the Intimidate off on the Aegislash, as Aegislash clicks King Shield. Now after I Mega Evolve Mawile, I'm able to click Play Rough and deal half damage, as he clicks Substitute. Now I'm able to click Play Rough again and able to break the sub as we play this 50-50 game with Sucker Punch, and Flash Cannon is revealed. That's right, Special Aegislash. However, it doesn't matter as I switch into Toadschool, because once I see that this is Special Aegislash, I know that Toadschool is able to completely wall everything that Aegislash could do. After King's Shield, I unfortunately get my attack lowered, but, I mean, it's Toadschool, so I'm not worried about that. I click Knockoff again, and then I switch into Como-O on the Ogerpon move, as Ogerpon clicks Substitute. This isn't great, this whole situation here, because he's able to kill my Como-O. However, Ogerpon Hearthflame is able to come in, and my Ogerpon Hearthflame is decked out with Trailblaze. So I'm able to break the substitute and get the speed boost over their Ogerpon. So once I click Horn Leech, I'm able to get my HP back, and I'm faster than his entire team. Now Mega Altaria comes in, and Altaria is able to eat this Ivy Cudgel for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and click Flamethrower. Now Toadschool comes in, and Toadschool threatens Spore, and he switches into Tinglu because that's the Pokemon that he's okay with getting Spored the most. They switch to Tornadus Therian into the Knockoff, which gets rid of the Heavy Duty Boots. They switch back into Altaria, which means I switch back into Penguin. Penguin the Iron Bundle. As he switches in his Frozen Tornadus Therian, I click Flip Turn because I don't want to get stuck in. I send in Mawile here, and as the switch to Aegislash happens, I get a free Ice Punch. And then now I click Sucker Punch, correctly getting the 50-50 on this Aegislash here. Now Altaria comes in, and I threaten, it threatens Flamethrower, which means I switch to Toadschool here. And even though Toadschool, it is super effective, Toadschool with Eviolite is able to take 2. But now Iron Bundle is able to come in and threaten this with Ice Beam. He sends in Tinglu here, which also is able to eat. a move from Iron Bundle. However, it's not able to eat the second one as he switches into Swalot. I click Flip Turn here to switch into Mega Mawile as he kills with Giga Drain. He actually doesn't kill with Giga Drain, but Ting-Lu comes in as Mawile, I assume, goes for Iron Head, or Play Rough would have been better there, but it doesn't matter. Mawile clicks Ting-Lu, and then Altaria threatens with Hyper Voice. Now it's up to Iron Bundle to kill in one hit, which he does actually, thankfully, but now Swalot is just pressure, because ooh boy does Swalot have HP. And that, unfortunately, is the game. GG to IHLP, he played very well here. Iron Bundle just didn't get it done in terms of damage. If I had ran Choice Specs Iron Bundle instead of Heavy Duty Boots, maybe I would have been able to break through the Swalot, but I would have been taking a damage from this little spiky boy right here. Overall, tremendous game. I just lost again. Now, unfortunately, we do not have the replay for Week 3, but I actually did manage to beat 707, 4-0. I don't have the replay, but I imagine it was a commanding victory. I'm sure Iron Bundle got 6 kills and Ogrepon got 3. It was probably just a stomp all around. I'm sure it wasn't close, and I'm sure 707 can vouch that I probably won effortlessly, and, you know, I'm just a better player. But, yeah, for the record, I'm gonna skip to Week 4 here, but 707 versus me is not on the documents, it is not documented, but I did win. Week 4 was not a fun week for me in the sense that I got absolutely pounded. There isn't even going to be really much to break down of this game, but let's start off. I lead Murkrow as we go against a Raging Bolt, and Raging Bolt clicks Volt Switch into my Registeel. Now after Emboar comes in, Registeel clicks Earthquake, and Emboar destroys Registeel, and it isn't even close. Countdown on the Vinny misplay counter for just letting Registeel go down. And Slowking Galar comes out as I set up Sticky Webs with Ariados. After I click Knockoff, Slowking's Cobra Berry allows it to click Trick Room, and Araquanid comes in. Trick Room is up for 4 turns, and with my Sticky Web, it means that pretty much everything that they have is going to be faster than me. After the Liquidation, I set up a layer of Toxic Spikes, and because I'm slower, I can't set up another layer of Toxic Spikes, meaning that I only get 1 layer and 1 Sticky Web before Ariados goes down. Now Murkrow is in, and Murkrow tries to click a Thunder Wave read as Araquanid goes for Sticky Webs itself. After the Twisted Dimensions return to normal, I click Taunt to try to prevent it from going for any other move, and I get the read wrong as it clicks Liquidation and almost kills Murkrow. Now he switches into Raging Bolt, which loses speed and gets poisoned, and I go for the Roost. Now, Raging Bolt threatens things here, but because I click Roost, I lose the Flying typing, which means that this Volt Switch does less damage, and he goes into Slowking. After absorbing the Toxic Spike, I choose to click Defog to get rid of Sticky Webs on both sides of the field, and he goes for Trick Room. After the switch to Raging Bolt, I switch into Mawile, and now we have a little bit of a face down here. I click Substitute because I'm actually slower than his Raging Bolt in Trick Room, and in comes Emboar. Now, unfortunately, Emboar is slower than my Mega Mawile due to them being more optimized for Trick Room than me, and Close Combat kills Mawile here. I switch into Ogrepon here, and Ogrepon just dies because of Emboar's Close Combat. And, I mean, you guess how this goes. Iron Bundle comes in to try to threaten. They switch into Slowking Galar, which has an absolutely massive special defense. I click Agility here because it's a booster special attack set, and after I get a crit Ice Beam, he goes for Trick Room and switches into Raging Bolt. With Yachi Berry, this Raging Bolt is able to live an Ice Beam, and then I have to switch into Murkrow here because Thunderclap will just kill me. However, he gets the read right and goes for Volt Switch and switches into Emboar, and in the Trick Room, I have absolutely nothing I can do against an Emboar Close Combat. GG to Ash Ice Claw. Trick Room was an absolutely phenomenal strat that I just had absolutely no plan for, and ultimately I just got completely outplayed in terms of prep. I mean, this was an absolute slaughter. Chapter 2. The Fight for Redemption. So, it's clear that I'm kind of getting owned on. With a record of 1-3, it's not looking very great. I don't even have a chance of making top cut at this rate. And my next opponent is, let's just say the Little Wet. So we need to start locking in. Now, thankfully, I'm not going to make any free agent moves. However, I am going to make some adjustments. First, pretty much everyone is prepping for Iron Bundle. I mean, everyone has some sort of assault vest user, or just some sort of massive defensive tank that's just owning Iron Bundle. So, let's not win with Iron Bundle. I mean, think about it. If everyone's expecting us to win with Iron Bundle, why not look at Ogerpon? Ogerpon is just as offensively threatening, and I feel like people are really sleeping on him in this draft. After all, it's the Pokemon on my team that's gotten the most kills, so why not abuse it a little bit more? Here is my Week 6 battle against King and his disgusting Rain team. Now, I start off with the lead with Zapdos, and then I go for a Volt Switch on the Overquill, and switch into Mawile here, who clicks Intimidate on this Overquill. I'm immune to Toxic here, which means that I am able to just completely eat that, and once I Mega Evolve, I'm able to get a Swords Dance off in front of the Archaludon. Now, after Body Press does a little bit of chip damage, Play Rough is able to completely kill Archaludon after one attack. Next, Savali clicks Flame Charge, however Mawile just kills again with Play Rough. Here's what I mean by killing things with not Iron Bundle. Now, after Politoed sets up the Rain, I'm able to get a Sucker Punch off and deal the majority of its HP. After Seismic Toss does some suitable chip damage to Mawile, he switches into Kilowattrel and reads the Sucker Punch. Now, once I click Sucker Punch again, he's able to read it and go for a Tailwind this time. After the Wind Power boost, Kilowattrel is able to kill me after its Focus Sash is used up with a mean Thunder. Overall though, 2 kills for Mawile, I take that. Now Murkrow goes for a Prankster Toxic, and after the Thunder kills Murkrow, Toxic Chip will kill Kilowattrel in return. Politoed comes in and I'm able to send in Zapdos. Now he may have one turn of Tailwind left, which allows him to Toxic first, but Volt Switch just completely obliterates Politoed. Next up, finally I send in Iron Bundle. However, he has an AV Fezandipity, which means that he's able to click Gunk Shot and poison me, and I just have to go for a Rain Boosted Flip Turn into Coma-O. Now, with Coma-O on the field, I'm able to pressure him out into Overquill. However, Overquill doesn't like taking an Earthquake, even with that Intimidate boost. I switch into Zapdos here as Overquill goes for Toxic on an already poisoned Pokemon. Next up, Zapdos goes for Volt Switch, which does absolutely massive chip damage into Overquill, and I go into Coma-O, which takes nothing from Crunch. Next up, Coma-O goes for Earthquake to just kill the Overquill, and now in comes Fezandipity. And in comes Zapdos, which is able to just completely eat this double kick. And take static damage. Now, after I click a Volt Switch to do suitable chip damage, I switch into Coma-O as he goes for a double kick. Again, absolutely no damage on this Coma-O. After a full Paralysis turn, Coma-O Earthquake is able to kill. Simple, easy. I defeated the Rain team. Next up is my battle against the one and only, the loser, Steve SBU. Now, after he goes for a Pyro Ball, my Sash Ariados is able to get a Toxic off. Next, I switch into Zapdos as he goes for a U-turn. Now, there's a lot of things he could switch in here, and Zapdos doesn't really mind any of them, but in comes Swirlix. Now, after I click Volt Switch myself and go into Toedscool, they're able to get off a Yawn on my Toedscool, which means that I have to switch out, as he goes for a Sticky Web. Now, Registeel, looking at Swirlix, only has one thing on its mind, which is just to click Heavy Slam. Now the knockoff comes in as I stay in on Registeel and click Body Press on this Crocodile, doing a good amount of chip damage. After the Mawile switch, I switch into Zapdos myself. Huge switch turn. He goes for Ice Beam to do a good amount of damage, and I set up a Light Screen on my Screen's Zapdos. I roost behind a Light Screen this turn as my Milotic can't really do anything, and Jolteon is able to get off a mean Toxic. After he reveals Volt Absorb here, I have to switch manually to my Toedscool as he gets off a Light Screen of his own. Next, in comes Cinderace as I Rapid Spin to get rid of my Sticky Web. Now I click Protect to see what move he has and potentially Choice Lock him into a move, although I believe I've actually revealed that he isn't choiced, so count that on the Vinny misplay counter. Next up is Pyro Ball, which does good damage to Zapdos, as I really just wasn't prepared for that. Next up is a U-turn into my Ariados, which was just a strategic sack. Next up we see Jolteon staring down the big meanie that is Ogerpon Heartflame, and after I click Trailblaze, I click Stopping Tantrum, which almost kills through Reflect as he gets off a Toxic. Now with the speed boost, I'm content to just switch out because, again, I can get it back later, and they switch out themselves into Hawlucha. Now, Halucha is just able to get this mean Stone Edge on the Zapdos and kill it, and I set in Iron Bundle. Without Light Screen, nothing on his team really likes taking that Ice Beam, but I used Flip Turn instead, because I'm really scared of what he's going to do. I send in Ogerpon here, because even through a Reflect, Ogerpon Trailblaze is able to completely kill and give me the speed boost, giving me huge momentum in this match. Halucha comes in and I switch out of fear because of this mean close combat, which does a good amount of damage even to Registeel. However, he has no real downside to clicking it again, which he does. After Reflect wears off, I send in Iron Bundle, and Iron Bundle is just able to get off a mean Freeze Dry on anything on his field, including my low tick. Now, unfortunately, because of Leftovers recovery, I'm not able to kill by clicking it again, which means that I send in Ogerpon. After Ogerpon takes some Toxic Chip, I'm able to Horn Leech, which almost gets my Lodic down in a single hit, and my Lodic clicks Scald, doing good chip damage onto Ogerpon. Ogerpon gets another move, which means that it's able to click Horn Leech again to get some recovery, and do some damage to the incoming Cinderace. Cinderace's Pyro Ball is just able to completely kill Ogerpon here though, and now with the toxic damage, we have a choice to make, which is do I click Protect, or do I not, to let him get the free switch. I unfortunately don't, and lose the 50-50, as Cinderace clicks U-turn here, which does damage to completely kill my Toedscool, and he gets to switch out, not taking toxic damage. Now, Iron Bundle comes in and is able to Ice Beam, and Swirlix is able to use Endeavor, which means that Cinderace's Sucker Punch next turn is gonna kill. Unfortunate, but it was a really good game, really good set, and if this Cinderace had gone down, Iron Bundle actually would have just won. All of his Pokemon were at a point where they would have just died to Freeze Dry. And overall, I'm still proud of this performance. Now, while my next 3 matches were important for deciding Top Cut, unfortunately, I'm just, not really going to show them. And there's a reason for each. So, I got a 3-0 victory against Victory Stars. However, the replay isn't on the document, as was the other one. It's just how it is. This happened months ago, so unfortunately I don't have that to show you. I got a forfeit victory against Lat 3-0, as usual for our forfeit victories. And then I got 6-0'd by KennyBot. So I'm not going to show those battles, but we're just going to move on to Top Cut, because Top Cut is where things get really intense, and I'm really excited to share them with you. Also, if you've made it this far in the video, be sure to subscribe. I try to make Pokemon content, when I can, and I put a lot of effort in this video, so if you subscribe, like, comment, I'd really appreciate it. Chapter 3. The Culmination. Well, we made it. Top Cut. Just barely. A 4-5 record, however. Not too shameful. However, if we look at our specific number, we realize that we got 12th. Does that sound familiar? That is exactly what was expected of us. 12th. And then what? We're just supposed to lose in the first round of Top Cut? Am I just supposed to accept that? No way. But my opponent is Cran, someone who's 7-2. I mean, surely they can't expect me to win a match like that, right? Well, too bad. I do what's unexpected all the time, and I put my heart and soul into winning this next battle. So, let's get on to it. Next up is my battle with Cran, and oh boy is this a fun one. Now, we start with the Zapdos versus Rillaboom situation, and they get the Volt Switch read and go for Lightning Rod, because, again, I just pretty much always click Volt Switch when everyone expects me to, and then I click Toxic and he gets the read into a Steel type. We're putting all of this on the Vinny misplay counter. I get a Roost, however, as he switches in the Manectric, and after they go for a Thunderbolt, I Volt Switch into the Manectric. That's another Vinny misplay counter. After he goes for a Thunderbolt, I go for a Roost to get some HP back, and oh boy, are we having a fun situation now. Grassy Terrain leaves, and I switch into Komao into the incoming Thunderbolt, and now Komao is threatening this Mega Manectric with an Earthquake, which I get to click. After I switch in the Ogerpon, predicting a read, I get Volt Switched, which loses 30% on my Ogerpon, and they go into Urshifu. I switch into Zapdos myself into the U-turn, hoping for a Static Proc, which I get, because I'm lucky. Now in comes Iron Moth, which has a Proto Speed boost, and goes for a Fiery Dance onto my Zapdos, and I go for the Volt Switch. Now getting some chip and switching into Komao is absolutely helpful here. After they reveal the Dazzling Gleam, I kill with Earthquake, because, spoiler alert, this Como-O is AV. Now, after they switch into the Galarian Weezing, I switch into Zapdos and take some massive damage after a crit and confusion from Strange Steam. However, I get a Roost and don't hit myself, and they get a Fire Blast off. They get the burn off a Fire Blast, which is actually pretty interesting. However, it doesn't really come up as Zapdos doesn't have U-turn this week. Now, after I Volt Switch into Como-O, they get off a Sludge Bomb and do some chip damage on the Como-O. The Strange Steam, unfortunately, is able to kill. However, this was mainly a sack. Ogerpon Heartflame comes in and goes for a mean Stomping Tantrum into the Galarian Weezing, and Galarian Weezing goes for Sludge Bomb to kill Ogerpon. Next up, in comes Mawile safely, who's able to Mega Evolve, and after he misses the Fire Blast, I'm able to get a mean Substitute off. After he misses another Fire Blast, I'm able to get a mean Iron Head, completely killing him. Mega Manectric comes in, however, I'm behind an Intimidate, which means that behind a Substitute, which means I don't get an Intimidate. And after Sucker Punch, I'm able to completely kill Main. Now, in comes Empoleon, and after a Scald, I click Play Rough, which is able to do a nice percent of chip to this Empoleon. I switch into Zapdos here, and then another Scald hits me. However, Zapdos is looking pretty good in this situation. Zapdos clicks Roost to heal some HP, and Empoleon goes for Stealth Rocks. Now, I click Defog as Empoleon gets a competitive boost, and Empoleon clicks Knockoff. However, I get the Static proc. With this, Zapdos is able to click a mean Volt Switch and switch into Registeel, and Empoleon gets fully paralyzed. Just stop this video when I get lucky. Next, Registeel is able to click Body Press, completely killing the Empoleon. Now Rillaboom comes in, and Rillaboom goes for a mean superpower. However, I Chople Berry, which is able to completely take all the damage and go for a counter. After a U-turn, they're able to switch into Urshifu, and I'm able to go for a mean Ice Spinner, getting rid of the grassy terrain and doing some decent chip to Urshifu. Then, after a full para, I go for Body Press. After he goes for Close Combat, I'm able to tank the attack, and Registeel goes for another Body Press. And I win! I mean, sure, Rillaboom comes in, but, I mean, I just send in Zapdos. After the knockoff, Zapdos is able to get another attack off. Well, after Roost, actually, because, yeah, I forgot that I'm stalling him out. He clicks Knockoff, and then Zapdos heals up with Leftovers. And then Zapdos goes for Toxic. And I'm gonna spare you the... Yeah. I'm gonna spare you all that. But, I mean, I win. Listen. Rillaboom just got owned. I mean, granted, I got extremely lucky, but that's a Vinny W. And here I thought I was going to be disappointing. 12th, just an average Top Cut contender. And here I am, beating someone who went 7-2 in the main season. This could actually be a Vinny W. Well, on to the next round of Top Cut. And finally, my battle versus L King. This is actually a top 8 battle, because of the way that Top Cut worked with a top 12. The top 4 people were completely exempt from the first round of Top Cut. And L King is now my next opponent, who is the 2-time champion of MMC. This is going to be a tough one. However, I believe in myself. We can get this done. Now, after I send in Zapdos for the 50 millionth time this league, he sends in Spectrier, and immediately switches. However, I learn, and I click Toxic onto the Lightning Rod Pincurchin. Now, as he goes for a discharge into my Knuckle Stack is able to completely eat up the attack. Samurott Hisui comes in, and I get up a free set of Stealth Rocks. Now, as Samurott goes for a mean Aqua Cutter, I realize just how much damage this thing does. However, I get off a counter. Stop me when I stop being lucky. Now, I realize just how much damage Samurott is doing, and I try to pressure it out with Ogerpon. Once I get a Trailblaze off, I'm able to outspeed Togekiss. However, it doesn't really help, so I switch to Knuckle Stack as he goes for Defog. Now, once Knuckle Stacks tears down Togekiss, I'm able to get off Assault Cure, which is just tons of free chip damage and pretty much forces Togekiss out. After Togekiss switches, I'm able to get a mean Stealth Rock. However, Samurott is just too damn strong, and Aqua Cutter takes out Knuckle Stack. I do the same thing, pressuring it out with Ogerpon. In comes Togekiss, who I see has heavy-duty boots, and I go for the read and get Ivy Cudgel. After 2 Ivy Cudgels, Togekiss goes down. Camerupt comes in next, and after taking some damage to rocks, Mega Evolves. However, my Stomping Tantrum pretty much does half, and after a Mega Camerupt Flamethrower, I can just click Stomping Tantrum again. Simple, easy. Ogerpon really putting in the work this league. Next, in comes Spectrier, and I can't stay in, so I have to switch out to Zapdos and take a pretty decent amount of damage from Hex. Now, as they switch to Pincurchin, I click Volt Switch. Yeah, it's okay, Vinny misplay counter, sure. I really stopped winning these 50-50s after a while. I click Roost and the incoming Poison Jab, and Pincurchin takes Toxic Chip as I take Leftovers Healing. I click Roost again, losing my Flying typing as they go for another Poison Jab. They successfully get the poison, however, they're toxic. I'm only stage 1 poisoned, so I just click Roost again. Losing my Flying typing means Discharge is going to do even less damage. They take Toxic Chip, and I take Toxic Chip. Once they use their Custap Berry, they're able to recover, and I click Roost. However, this really isn't bad for me. Zapdos is still winning this 1v1. Sure, I'm wasting all my Roost PP, but Pincurchin's just gonna die eventually. After they switch to Samurott and take rock damage, I click Roost. And Samurott's dead. It can't switch in again because of the way stealth blocks work, so I'm content to just click Volt Switch on it. Boom! Samurott's finally out of the picture, after all that damage it was doing. Now, in comes Jirachi. Jirachi completely answers Iron Bundle, which means I need to switch to Mawile. This Psychic does huge damage and gets a special defense decrease. However, Mawile is able to pressure it out and switch out itself, which means we get the Pincurchin versus Zapdos matchup again. I click Roost, and guess what they click? Yeah, this happens a little bit, but it's fine. I have stage 1 poison, they have toxic. So, at the end of the day, we still win this 1v1. However, now they're pretty much at 80%, and I click Toxic to preserve PP. And I'm just gonna skip ahead to when the stalling game ends, because I don't want to bore you with that. Alright, let's switch to Ogerpon here, as guess what they go for? A switch to Jirachi. Now, Ogerpon is staring down Jirachi, and they have to switch out. After Pincurchin switches in, after rock damage, it just completely doesn't like IV Cudgel. Next, in comes Spectrier, who completely forces out Ogerpon, but I let it die, because it is what it is. After the Grim Neigh, Mawile comes in and sets up a Mega. And I get owned, because I click Sucker Punch, predicting it to go for an attacking move, and it goes for Will-O-Wisp. After the Cobble Berry and the burn, Spectrier is able to live the Sucker Punch and kill with Hex. Which means that, yes, ladies and gentlemen, after this Ice Beam, Jirachi comes in, and there's absolutely nothing I can do to beat Jirachi in this 1v1. Because after Zapdos comes in, I take Psychic damage, I take Poison damage, I take Psychic damage, and then Iron Bundle comes in, I go for the Hydro Pump, and only deal 28%. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the end of my MMC journey. I lose to Psychic damage here, and that's the end of my run. Overall, I still did really good. I mean, look at Jirachi, it only has 9% left. Overall, for my first season of MMC, I'm really proud of how everything came together, and I eagerly look forward to the next one. I hope you guys do too. This has been my story of my first season of MMC. Like I said earlier in the video, I will link down below Steve SBU's weekly perspective, as this was all in retrospect, months later. If you want more weekly videos, check out his channel. I will do weekly videos of MMC when it starts up again, so please look forward to that. And make sure to subscribe if you enjoyed the video. If you made it this far, that means you're a huge friend of mine or someone who really enjoyed my content, and I just really appreciate you guys, and thank you for everything you've done. Anyway, get out of here.